Let me give you guys one more example and then I will test you. So try to draw this graph here. So visualize it as this. You've got one block here, take away this block here. So x squared will look something like this. It will look like this here. And 1 over x, 1 over x, well 1 over x will look something like this. 1 over x. This is 1 over x, but the thing is, it's minus 1 over x. So you got to ask yourself, well, if 1 over x looks like this, what does minus 1 over x look like? So investigate. So let's have a look here. Well, we are now trying to investigate what 1 over minus 1 over x, what would that look like? Okay, as opposed to just 1 over x. Okay, we are trying to investigate what this graph will look like. So now you know something weird happens at x equals 0, because you don't want, well, 1 over 0. The minute you see something divided by 0, you've got to stop in your tracks. So here something breaks down at x equals 0. So something weird happens at x equals 0. So let's try and select a point that's just to the right of 0. So let's say a small number just to the right of 0. So let's say 0.03, say. Okay. Later on, we're going to select a number that's just left of 0. So minus 0.03. So we want to select a number that's really small and next to 0. So let's have a look on the positive side at the moment. So put 0.03 into here. Okay, so 1 over 0.03, and then because we are investigating the minus graph, the minus 1 over x. So this, you see, when this is small, this overall thing here will be big. So you've got a negatively big. So what that means is, well, so the overall thing will be negatively big. So it will be this. It will be very big. Now let's choose somewhere that's really big. Let's say 999, and let's put 999 into this thing here. Well, if you put 999 into this thing here, it will be 1 over 999. Don't forget it's a minus 1 over. Well, this thing here is really big, making this thing here very small. Now you've got a negatively small. So it will be negatively small. Well, it turns out to be like this. Okay, and now, well, let's put negative 0.03 into here now. Now we are investigating what happens when x is just to the left of the 0. So put negative 3 into here. So now you've got this. Hang on. So we started off as minus 1 over x. Now we are putting this really small negative number into here. So we will have, hang on, we will have something like this, 1 over now negative 0.003, a really small number. Now let's move this minus up here. Okay, we are just trying to simplify this. Now take the minus outside. Now it's a minus and a minus, so that will make it a positive. Because this is a positive, we can get rid of this altogether. So this here, the overall answer would be a positive number. Now, because this is really small, the overall thing, 1 divided by a really small number, this whole thing here would be really big. Get your calculator out and do 1 divided by 0. A really small number, and then the overall thing would be very big. My point is here, this whole thing here would be very big. So when x is just to the left of 0, this thing here will be very big. Okay, so well, and then choose a negatively big number. So minus 999. So now put minus 999 into here. It would be something like this. Hang on. So we started off as minus 1 over x. Now because we are choosing a number that's really big here, really big. So really big but negatively big. So it would be something like this. 1 over negatively big. So minus 999. Now let's take this minus up here. Now when it's up here, let's take it outside, so it would be this. So really it ends up as being a positive. Okay, so we can forget about this. So it turns out to be 1 over 999. Now because this thing here is really big, then the overall thing would be very small. Well, on your calculator, get 1 divided by a really big number. This overall thing would be very small. So my point is that overall this thing here would be very small, meaning that when you have x to be negatively big, well, minus 999, this thing here would be very small. So it turns out to be like this. Okay, so overall our graph will look like this. So hang on, let me summarize. So 1 over x will look like this. Okay, 1 over x will look something like that. Now minus 1 over x will look something like this. Okay, so just bear that in mind. So let me just reiterate that. 1 over x looks like this. Minus 1 over x looks like this. Okay, so now let's try and look at this whole thing here. What would this graph look like? So hang on. When you got to ask yourself which term dominates when x is small, this one or this one here. Well, when x is small, this term dominates, and when x is big, this term dominates. Because if you put, let's say if you put a really big number in here, so we are looking somewhere over here, really big, 999. If you put 999 into here and 999 into here, this whole thing here would be very small. This whole thing here would be very big. So around here, it wants to follow x squared. It wants to follow this thing here. Same with when you put minus 999 in here. This thing here would be very big. This thing here would be, well, it would be so small, it's negligible, really. You can forget about it. So hang on. So when x is over here and over here, it wants to follow this. So it wants to do this. Okay, but we don't want it when it's small. When it's small, it behaves differently. When it's small, it wants to follow this term here. When it's small, it wants to follow this, because if you put a small number in here and in here, let's say 0.00001, this term here would be next to nothing, and this thing here would be really big. But the thing is, so it would be negatively big. So hang on, let's start again. So here, when x is big, it wants to follow this x squared thing like this. Okay, it wants to follow that. So when x is big, it's going to look something like this. Okay, so we know when it's big, it wants to follow that. Now when x is small, this thing here dominates. But the thing is, it's negative. So it's a negative reciprocal. So it would do this. It would be very big here. Well, it wants to do this. Okay. Well, so when x is small, it wants to do this. But because we are only interested in when x is small, we can really forget about, because we are only interested in when x is small, this thing here is only valid around this region here, when x is small. Okay, so when x is small, this thing here dominates. Okay, when x is small, meaning around this area, it wants to behave. It wants to behave like this. Now, when it's big, when x is big here, it wants to obey this bit here. Okay, so around here, it wants to obey the x squared. When it's around this region here, it wants to obey 1 over x. Okay, so now it's just a matter of joining up join up the so here it will look something like this. Okay, and this bit here, well, it wants to follow the x equals x squared graph. But the thing is, when x gets small, it wants to behave like a reciprocal curve. So overall, your graph will look like this, something like this. So roughly sketch Okay, let me start again here. So your graph will look something like this. When x is big, it wants to follow the x squared. Okay. Now when it's small, because it's a negative reciprocal, then it wants to do this. It's a negative reciprocal, so it has to be like that. Now it's just a matter of joining it up. So it becomes like this, and this here becomes like this. Okay. So the moment of truth. Let's check it out on a graph calculator. So find yourself a graph calculator, and it will look something like this. Okay. Hang on. Okay. So here you can see that. But by the way, maybe you can't see when here you see this bit here is your x squared here. Hang on. So you can see your x squared, but when x is small, you see it wants to follow that reciprocal bit here. It wants to do this negative reciprocal, so something like this. But remember, when it's small, so this thing here is really you can forget about it when it's big. So when it's small, it wants to do that. But when it's big, it wants to do the x squared. See? So let me remove it. You can see it here. You see that there's a curve here, and then it goes up like that. Okay, and here this is well. Anyway, overall your graph should look something like this. Okay.